You want to get ahead financially, but you're not sure how. You don't know what to do, and you feel like you're falling behind. Well, it's not your fault. The society that we live in is designed to keep you poor. You don't learn about finances in school. Money isn't talked about growing up. In fact, it's said that it's evil. And you're constantly trying to avoid the comparison trap. So what do? There's so many gurus out there. Some will tell you to sell your car and bike everywhere, while others will say, skip that latte, never buy one ever again. So what do? The first thing is you need to set a goal. You want to set that goal of achieving financial independence, financial freedom, but that's not enough. You need to set your goals up properly. And that's where most people fall behind. They don't set up that goal properly, and then when they're thinking about it, it seems like it's so far out into the future that they don't know what to do today to get there. And so it's so important that you break that goal down into achievable steps that you can take every day, and steps that what do you need to do right now. And so there was a study done, and people were given the option of either $100 today or $200 a year from now. And if you're watching this video, your goal is probably to maximize the amount of money you have. So you'd think that most people would select the $200. And while you're watching this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. And getting back to that example, most people actually don't select the $200. They instead would rather take the $100 today. And the research went further to say that while people do prefer a larger amount, they prefer an amount today over something that's in the future. While we prefer more money, even if it's an exponentially larger amount, we would rather take a smaller amount today. And that's called hyperbolic discounting. And that's one of the reasons why it makes it so hard to save and invest. Let's say you save $100 a week or $100 a month, and that $100 is gonna be worth 10 times in 30 years. But it's such a faraway time that you can't comprehend what that bigger amount really looks like, and so you don't end up investing or saving any of it. And imagine if you keep living like this. You'll never grow your wealth and you'll never build passive income. And so as we think about setting these goals, it's important to think about the quality of the goals that we set, because the quality of our life at the end of the day is determined by the questions that we ask, which in turn determines the goals that we set. For example, if your goal is to achieve financial independence, what exactly does that mean? It's such a vague goal. And so we need to add more detail into that goal. So if we expand on that, let's say we add a specific amount, so it's $1 million, and we want to achieve it in 30 years. It's specific, it has a time frame, it's realistic, and you can measure it. Versus if you said you just want to be rich, that doesn't have a timeline or an actual amount, so it's hard to measure and you don't know if you've achieved it. And while 30 years or $1 million might seem like a lot, remember this goal that we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can do in a decade, and imagine in multiple decades. And while you're thinking about what your goals should be, they should align to your values and not just be a number like $1 million just because it seems like the right thing to do. Maybe your goal is more focused. Maybe your goal is to travel more often, or to retire your parents, for example. One of your goals might be, I want to have a Lambo because that's what millionaires have. But remember, in fact, what we're shown on social media isn't necessarily what true millionaires live like. The average millionaire is actually older than you think, drives an older car than you would think, so definitely doesn't have that brand new Lamborghini, and spends less than you think. So they're not the ones that are out there living their lives on social media with the parties and the yachts and the airplanes. They actually usually live a very modest lifestyle. So when you're setting these goals, make sure it's something that you want, not what someone else wants or what social media thinks that you should have. Base it on the life that you want to live, not the life that you think you should be living. So let's say as we're thinking about that goal of, let's say, $1 million in 30 years, how do we break that down into smaller steps so that we can actually achieve it? So we've got our 30-year goal. Now let's break it down. The first step would be, what does our 5-year goal need to be in order to achieve the 30-year goal? So maybe in 5 years, in order to get to $1 million in 30, in 5 years, we need to save $100,000. So what do I need to do in the next year to get to $100,000 in 5 years? Now let's say you need to save $12,000. So now you've got your yearly goal. What do you need to do in the next month to get to that yearly goal? Maybe it's to save $1,000. So now your goal is to save $1,000 by the end of the month. What do you need to do by the end of this week to achieve it? Maybe it's save $250. And now what do you need to do daily to achieve that? So maybe it's saving an X amount of dollars. And what do you need to do right now? What do you need to do today to get there? Maybe it's reviewing your finances, figuring out where can you save money, what can you not spend money on to get there. Now where most people end up is they look at this goal linearly, that they need to save X amount of dollars to achieve their goals. And so what do most people do is they'll cut out those lattes, they'll cut out the avocado toast, because they know that if they cut out avocado toast, they're going to be able to afford a home. But instead, I love the Ramit Sethi approach. Let's ask $30,000 questions and not $3 questions. So what exactly does that look like? So let's come back to the example of we want to save $12,000 by the end of the year. Now, what are other ways that we can get there? You might ask for promotion. You might get rid of that second car. Maybe you don't really need it. Maybe you switch careers, you switch jobs. So instead, today, you don't need to cut out that latte or that avocado toast. Instead, maybe you need to spruce up that resume. Maybe you need to set up a meeting with your managers so that you can start discussing how you can get that promotion. And so coming back to the quality of the questions that you ask, it's so much more important than just cutting out the $3 lattes. And it's these small steps, these dominoes that eventually allow you to get to that $1 million. And as the expression goes, how does someone eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And it's the same with these goals. The goal is to get to $1 million, but what's the small step, that one bite that you need to do today to get there? And you need to approach your goal setting in the same way. If you ask yourself, how do I get to $1 million? It's too vague, it's too abstract. It doesn't make sense. Even if I think about it, I'm like, how am I gonna get $1 million? I have no idea. Maybe buy some houses? But again, I need to think about how do I get there? And so once you've set up your goal, so maybe it's the $1 million in 30 years, or maybe whatever your goal is. And so it's not just about setting up these goals, but the process of how you get there. And once you've set your goals, start reviewing them consistently. Review them every few months. Remember to enjoy the journey and the process as well. It's not about the destination, but the journey there. You don't want to end up at 65 with a bunch of money in your bank account, but everything else, your relationships, your health is all destroyed. And as you're setting goals, think about those as well. What relationship goals do you have? What community goals? What health goals do you have in mind? And make sure to set those goals up as well while you're working on your finances and working towards achieving financial freedom. I hope you found this video helpful in setting up your financial goals. Remember that starting something is the most important, so get out there and take action. But before you do so, please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week.